The topic of today's short talk is Ask Her Out. So this is an episode for the guys. Today, I'm going to teach you how to overcome your approach anxiety so that you can finally muster up the courage to approach women that you're actually attracted to in order to initiate a date or a sexual encounter. It's actually much less scary than you think, and I have a surefire strategy that always works. But before I get into it, allow me to take a brief detour, the purpose of which should become clear as the episode progresses. My guy, are you a fan of Lord of the Rings? I know, stupid question. Of course you are. Now, some people have looked deeply into this story and have come up with some very compelling interpretations, like some believe it's an extended metaphor for the Second World War, or the elaborate pretext to invent a fictional language, etc., etc. However, I'm here to tell you that the entire Lord of the Rings, like all 3 books, all 12 hours of the extended cinematic experience, is really just the story of one man's journey to overcome his approach anxiety. Because how is the story bookended? The whole thing begins and ends with Sam. When we first meet Sam, we see him staring longingly at Rosie, the buxom hobbitess he has his eyes on, but for the life of him, doesn't have the courage to talk to. Then we pass over this whole narrative interlude involving the Ring of Power, during which time Sam leaves his homeland, suffers trials and hardships, kills and faces death, defeats Shelob in single combat, carries his friend up the slopes of Mount Doom, rids the Shire of Saruman, and restores peace to his village. You know, all that nonsense. All to eventually come back to Sam, once again staring longingly at Rosie Cotton. However, this time, it's different. And you can see it in his eyes. He looks at that woman, and it's as if he realizes that nothing that could conceivably come out of that woman's mouth could possibly be worse than all the things he just went through. And he gets up and strikes up a conversation with her. And before long, they're married with 13 kids. Yes, 13. And they live happily ever after. In fact, Sam's is kind of the only story that turns out good in the end, which is potentially worth noting. In any case, you can now appreciate that the entire Lord of the Rings is really Sam's journey to walk the 10 paces from his seat to the girl of his dreams. And therein lies the secret of overcoming approach anxiety. Namely, do more difficult things. If the scariest part of your day is talking to a woman, then you are playing it too safe, my dude. And more likely than not, this will be apparent to the woman you are